Yo, you guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review for Taboo Tattoo Episode 5. Alright, this might be a long one, because, all of my reviews for Taboo Tattoo are long, but this one's going to be probably the longest of them all, because a lot happened in this episode, especially those first 14 minutes or so, okay? First off, we see Aryabata land in Japan, and she's met by that sword girl. Apparently her name is Cow. I looked it up on my anime list, and they said car, but Crunchyroll says cow. And you know how Japan can be with L's and R's, and sometimes they get swapped in the. So I'll just go with cow for now. But two of them met up. She said that they located the fourth ruins. All right, and apparently Aryabata had intel for this. We don't know at all what that means, but I have a guess. Towards the end of the episode, we meet BB, okay? And he makes mention to the fact that Seigi is the third. I don't know what the third means, but I'm assuming that it means he's the third sealed of the triggerless tattoo. I'm assuming that there are multiple triggerless tattoos and that Seigi is the third. And when they refer to the fourth ruins, I'm assuming they mean the location of the fourth triggerless tattoo. That's my theory. That's my theory. I have no idea if it's going to work out or not, but that's what I'm going with for now. Okay? So see now, if I end up being right about that, you aren't going to get me to shut up about it. I'm just going to go crazy, okay? But that's my theory. There are multiple triggerless tattoos. Seigi is the user of is the sealed of the third triggerless tattoo, and the fourth ruins of the location of the fourth triggerless tattoo. Yeah, that's my theory right now. All right, now most of the first half of the episode, everything that happens after this, is Laka versus Izzy and Mish Eel versus Seigi and at one point Toko. Laka and Mish, they start out killing a bunch of people, but when Izzy starts fighting Laka, Mish goes back and starts doing her own thing farther away. Izzy manages to shoot Laka a few times, but only one of the shots hurts him, and we learn that later in the episode we learn that it's because he has the ability to manipulate the weight of objects. So he's like freaking Kira in Bleach with Wabisuke. Alright, so he can just manipulate the weight of objects. Which actually makes sense, because if you watch him run at different points in this episode, you can see, like, with every step he's making, he's cracking the ground with how heavy his steps are. So that actually makes a lot of sense. We also see him, at some point, create this, like, shield around himself, where the bullets just don't get to him. I guess that could be like an area. I guess he was creating an area where the weight of the objects would be magnified, so whenever the bullets hit them, they either just like went straight down or they were pushed off or something like that. I don't know, but it had something to do with his ability. All right, now most of the rest of this section of this half of the episode, it's Seigi and Mish. He ends up cycling in. He ends up falling right on his face. Literally, he literally falls on his face. It looked like it hurt big time. That was the weakest, worst entrance I've ever seen in an anime before. Like I've seen bad entrances where they're supposed to be funny, but this was just like legit serious. And he just fell right on his face, and it was rough. But we got a really good action sequence out of it. We really did. Seigi managed to control Voidmaker enough to actually destroy Mish's sword. He just cut right through it. But he got overconfident, as he always does. This is a habit of his. He did it with Izzy. He's done it with Mish before. I mean, I just don't understand. Like after a while, you'll have to realize that, and he did it with that first sealed from episode 1 at the end. He always gets overconfident with people. You should know after a while that these people with tattoos have had them longer than you. They're more experienced than you, so they're better at using them than you. So they're stronger than you. Like, you should know this by now. So why are you getting overconfident? All right, like, but he ends up getting overconfident, uh, and he ends up getting destroyed too. Like, oh man, this was rough. This was, I mean, that like, he legit got destroyed, ran like just shot back, and just, yeah, that yeah, blood everywhere. It was crazy. And Mish ended up calling him out on his quote self-righteous attitude, and she also called him out on how he always looks at people with pitying, condescending eyes, and she's 100% right because he does it with Toko all the time, all the time. Right, so one of the biggest issues he has as a character is how he judges people. So, and he always tries to talk to them like he knows best when he really doesn't know anything about the situation. Um, so she's 100% right when she tells him that. And Mish ends up going on to confirm pretty much all the development that we've theorized about so far in this series. She talks about how she's her entire life she's had to steal from people, injure them, and kill them just for the sake of staying alive, and that she's learned to just not care for people, because if you do show that kindness, like she said before, if you show that kindness, it's going to backfire on you and you're going to be killed. So she says that the only person she actually cares about in any way at all is Princess Aryabhata, which isn't true since she took care of that cat and fixed it up and continues to take care of it. So I don't think when she says this she's lying. I think she just legitimately doesn't realize that she is kinder than I think she's kinder than she realizes, and when she's going face to face when she's face to face with a human being, they're usually strangers, so there's no reason to care, and whenever they're not strangers, they're usually sealed, so she has a reason to not like them and doubt them and be cautious around them. The only person she doesn't do that for is Aryabhata, because Aryabhata is the one who brought her out of the slums. So I think this isn't a case of her lying. I think it's a case of she just genuinely doesn't realize that there's a kindness to her. She just doesn't really. She's never put in a position to actually show that kindness for a human being. So she's just not conscious of it. But also, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, and I'll talk about this later on. But her relationship with Aryabhata is it's deeper than I thought. Let's just say that. So I used to talk about how I thought she was going to switch sides, but at this point, I honestly don't think she's going to switch sides anymore. I think she's definitely sticking with Aryabhata. She's not switching sides at all. She's way too loyal, and I said that maybe would happen as a result of her failing a mission or something, and Aryabhata throwing her away, so to speak. But we saw much more of Aryabhata in this episode than we have in others. We saw a different side of her. Well, Aryabhata stole this episode for me. She was just the MVP of this episode. We saw a side of her that we hadn't seen before, and she legitimately cares about her subordinates to an extent. She even brought Laka back when he eventually lost and got knocked unconscious. So I mean, we saw a more caring side of her, and we saw that she isn't really as evil as she comes off being. Like, you see her walking through corpses and, all over blood and stuff, and just having that evil smile. But we also see sides of her here where one of the first things she asks Cal is how Mish is doing, and we see that we see the degree to which she cares for Mish and even Laka, kind of. I mean, she didn't really have to, like, the way. How can I phrase it? She didn't really show that she cared about him, but that she valued his ability and usefulness as a member of the Brahman. So she didn't hesitate or think twice about rescuing him and bringing him back with her. Like, she obviously is not the person to throw you away if you fail a mission. I guess that's kind of what I'm going with, because if she was that person, she would have threw Laka away, and she didn't. All right, so I definitely don't think that Aryabhata and Mish are splitting up anytime soon, if at all, because they're just way too close, and she actually does care about her subordinates. So there's just no reason to believe that anymore. It's pretty much been disproven. But eventually, Toko, she's watching everything that's going on, and she hears Tom's voice in the headset. So she gives the headset and the phone to Seigi, and he tells her that the source of Mish's power is the uncertainty principle, and that in order to phase through objects and take people over and stuff, she needs for there to be an observer. So Seigi closes his eyes, that way he will not be able to be an observer. So when she phases back through and tries to slash him, it just doesn't work because she was not able to make herself to she wasn't able to make herself tangible again until he opened his eyes back. Okay, but leave it to Seigi, he gets overconfident again, and the next time she attacks him, because she had two other swords with her. The next time she attacks him, he just closes his eyes and sits there, and he ignored the fact that Toko was there, and she is also an observer, obviously. So he gets slashed like real bad. This was a deep wound. Like the dude was like, "I'm gonna die. I'm legit gonna die right now." Like the pain on his face was crazy. Like, and the voice acting was great as well in that scene too. But the real gem here was Toko, because after she sees that, her desire to keep Mish from killing Seigi, her desire to protect him, I guess that just unconsciously activated the tattoo on her forehead, and she essentially, I guess, stole power from Mish. I don't think it's that since their tattoos are linked. I don't think that I don't think she gets her own power boost from it. I think she's literally siphoning power away from Mish and taking it for herself. So she not only does she make herself stronger, but she makes Mish weaker as well. And she ends up attacking Mish. Mish didn't even know this was possible. So I guess even Celestin doesn't know everything there is to know about their individual abilities. And also, it's clear now that the tattoo on Toko's forehead doesn't fully activate whenever Mish activates hers, because if it did, it would have. Mish had her tattoo activated for minutes and minutes already, so why would Toko's just activate now? Obviously, it doesn't automatically activate whenever Mish activates hers, just even if they're in the right proximity. So I guess it's just that when Mish activates her tattoo, some of the power just unconsciously leaks into Toko's, like in gym class from the last episode. We saw her get this power boost and the tattoo wasn't activated, but it still affected her. So she gets, whenever Mish activates her tattoo, she gets some power boost from it, but it's really weak to the point where she doesn't even really notice. But if she's in the right mindset, she can fully activate the tattoo and get a legit power boost out of it. Alright, so Toko and Mish are going at it, pushing each other back, and Seigi's watching this. And as he's watching this, he ends up hearing the voice of the sealed of the triggerless tattoo, like the avatar, I'll call it. Because later in the episode, we see kind of like Aryabhata kind of like creates in thin air, out of thin air, the image of the avatar of the triggerless tattoo. And Izzy refers to it as the sealed of the triggerless tattoo, but we know that the sealed, it's terminology used to describe someone who has the tattoo on their body, you know. So she's using the word sealed to refer not only to the person with the tattoo, but the avatar as well, but that's confusing, so I'm just going to call it the avatar. So Seigi's sitting here, or laying here, and he's hearing the voice of the avatar of the triggerless tattoo, and it's trying to convince him to use Voidmaker. It says that Voidmaker exists to negate things, so he should use it to negate Mish. However, Seigi doesn't like being forced into things, so he says he will use it instead to negate the voice. So he ends up like punching and like stabbing himself, which I guess he tried to negate his injury or something. Like he tried to seal up the injury. I don't really. It wasn't really clear what he was doing there. But whatever he did fixed him up long enough to actually fight back. He ends up using Voidmaker to create this empty space underneath the ground, and that causes the surface of the ground to just cave in, and that gives Seigi an opportunity to destroy Mish's other two swords and then one-shot her. And at first I was annoyed by this. I'm like, wait a second, Mish is strong. How could she just get one-shotted like that? But then I remembered, number one, Toko had been siphoning power off from her. And number two, she's a kid. Right? So I was expecting too much for her to not get one-shotted because Mish is so strong, I hold her to a higher standard just because of how skilled she is for her age, but it doesn't change the fact that she's still young and she still has the body of a child. So being hit, getting that degree of impact it makes sense for that to defeat her because she's just a kid. Like if you're facing a grown man, you might have to punch him a few times. If you're just facing a child, one punch and you're freaking Saitama. All right, so it actually makes sense if we remember she's just a kid. Though I mean, with the tattoo activated, you should still get a boost in endurance and stuff. But again, her degree of endurance would still be lower than that of Seigi's because she's a child and he's a teenager, young adult, and her power was still being siphoned off by Toko. So I will accept this, even though I don't like it. Of course, that her being one-shotted didn't stop her from reviving as soon as Aryabata showed up, but whatever. This, the comedy in Taboo Tattoo is just not funny, and it's always at like the worst times. The tone shifts are just crazy. So I just write it off. Everybody has their own style of their own comedic style and their own sense of humor, and I have just accepted that this is the author's comedic style, and that it just does not mesh with me. I just accepted that. So whenever I see this comedy, I'm just like, oh, okay, whatever, because I've just accepted that's just the style. That's just how it is. So. Which I probably shouldn't, but as a writer myself, I'm kind of just understanding of that. So I just don't really, I don't want to hold too much against the author when it's like that. Like I may not like a person's art style, but they're still better than me. So like I can only criticize the person's art, but so much. Unless it's like a sketch that Togashi does, where he'll redo the art for the volumes when he's doing Hunter x Hunter, but when he's drawing chapters weekly, there are times when he just doesn't try at all. He'll just send in sketches, and they'll publish that in a magazine, and you're just sitting there like, come on, Togashi, like really? That's what you're gonna give us? But anyway, I'm getting way off topic. Seigi ends up defeating Mish, and then Aryabata shows up out of nowhere on some Randy Orton crap. She just teleports in, and then she ends up kissing Seigi, which a part of me still thinks that she could just simply be a pervert. Because if you see later on in the episode, the part of the episode that I just cared the least for, which I just wish I could have erased it from my memory, Aryabata and Toko end up playing table tennis, and Aryabata says, "If I win, I want you to let me molest you," pretty much. So she is a pervert, but I still think that this is one of her abilities. I think that by kissing someone, she can either grant someone power, or she can receive power herself, or she can clone a person's power, or something like that. Because because it's just too random. Like it's just too random. Like it's one thing to have a character that's perverted, and it's another thing to have a character who literally just kisses important characters whenever she sees one, so it's just too random, and it's too coincidental that right after she kisses Seigi, all of a sudden she can create this image in the sky of the avatar of the triggerless tattoo, unless she herself has one of the other triggerless tattoos, and like they all have the same avatar. That would make sense as well. But for now, I'm just going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say that she is, while she's obviously a pervert, I'm going to assume that the reason she kisses people is not because of her perversion, but it's actually something like, uh, what's a show that does this? Campione. There you go. Campione. Campione, the anime. It's a show about mythology. I actually enjoy it because of that fact. But it's a show where one of the ways you can activate magic is by kissing someone. So it's like a harem show where the main character is literally required to kiss people in order to get the magical ability necessary in order to defeat people. You know, I'm thinking it could be something like that. Um, and actually, whenever he kisses someone, he ends up absorbing, like, not stealing, but like copying the knowledge that they have about one of the Greek gods or whatever that they're facing, the person that they're facing, and having that knowledge gives him the ability to know their weakness and take them out. It's actually really cool and well done. It's actually a good anime. Like it's not like Maso X Gakuen or Hybrid X Heart or whatever you want to call it. It's actually good and it's actually enjoyable. They actually do the story well, but it's not just a fan service fest. There's not even any nudity or anything. It's just a straight up just good anime. I love it. But of course I'm biased because I like mythology. But anyway, Aryabata teleports in, kisses Seigi, and the two of them start talking. And Aryabata right away realizes how naive Seigi is, because he's just like most main characters who think that they can save everybody and protect everybody and prevent anyone from ever dying ever, which is just simply not true. It's just not. You can be freaking Goku and you're still not going to be able to save everybody. This has been proven time and time again. You know how many people have died in Dragon Ball Z? Like no one can protect everyone. It's just impossible. Okay, so for him to legitimately, I mean, obviously his sense of justice has been impacted by his life previously and because of his father and grandfather and everything, but like still it's just naive to believe that. It just until we get more details about his father, I won't be able to fully comprehend it, but I at least understand why I almost kind of understand why he's naive, almost kind of, okay, but he is still naive, and Aryabata picks this up right away. All right, but she does say that he has potential and that she might be able to count on him. So when she said that, that's when I knew she's not as evil as I thought she was, because she's seeing this enemy who's fighting with her enemy, and the second thing she thinks about him is that you could actually be a real help to me. Like, I think I can actually count on you, and I think I'll legitimately be able to count on you as an ally in the future. No one says that. If someone's evil, they say, I'm going to control you, I'm going to manipulate you, and force you onto my side. I know. She just said, I honestly think one day I'll be able to count on you, and you'll be able to help me out with my goals. Like, that's like the least evil thing I've ever heard. You know, so I definitely don't think she's as evil as I thought. Okay. Of course, we've also seen her kill her, well, we didn't see her kill her parents, we just saw the aftermath of it. So I'm thinking that she's one of those Machiavellian, you know, ends justify the means types of people, where she has a righteous and just goal, and she's willing to get her hands dirty in order to accomplish it. And she knows, and oh, I don't know if she knows this, I don't know if she's gone this far, but she knows it's wrong to kill, and she doesn't want to do it, but she does it because she knows that this is the easiest way and the quickest way to get that peace that she's looking for. Of course, we don't know how. Oh, and also, she tells Seigi later on that her plan, if it succeeds, will create a world without fighting, and that's something that Seigi himself wants. So she sounds good. Like she sounds like an anti-hero. She's like a Lelouch right now, where she's doing bad things, but she's doing bad things for the sake of creating a better future. But we don't know if what she's doing is, we don't know. For all we know, she could be trying to activate Infinite Tsukuyomi or something like that. She could be trying to send people to what's it called? What's the thing from Nagima? I forgot. Well, Nagima did this thing that's almost the same as Infinite Tsukiyomi, you create a perfect world that's built for each individual person, where and it's they're just living in their perfect world, but you're still forcing it on people against it. Like, it's still bad. It's good, but it's bad at the same time. Like, we don't know what exactly her plan is yet, so we can't really. Apparently, her plan is already moved into motion. Apparently, because we hear that from BB, but we just I just don't think she's evil. I just don't think she's evil. I'm actually hoping that I'm right. I'm hoping. I really don't want her to turn out to be just some evil psycho. I want her to actually be an anti-hero, where you're sitting there thinking, like, you know, she isn't. She may not be right in doing this, but she's not wrong either. I like characters like that personally. It's one of the reasons why I love Lelouch. It's one of the reasons I love. Well, no, maybe I shouldn't say I love Obito, because that'll get me a bunch of hate. But it's one of the things that I like about Obito and Madara. You know, characters like that. I like characters who aren't just black and white, evil, good, white meat baby face and just steer and cliche heel. I like people who blur the lines. So I'm really hoping she's not just straight up evil, and that there's actually a good side to her where you don't want to agree with her, but you don't disagree either. I'm really hoping for that. But after this fight ends, she ends up teleporting away with Mish, and we end up seeing the end of the fight between Izzy and Laka. She shoots him. She ends up shooting him with compressed air, and because he can't change the weight of that, his ability just becomes completely pointless and useless. So she shoots him a bunch more times and almost defeats him, but she let her guard down too soon as she falls for the noise canceller trap again. But Lisa ends up showing up, because earlier in the episode you see her wake up with the cat and everything, and she ends up freeing herself from her restraints and arriving with backup to help out Izzy. They destroy the noise canceling device. They shoot Laka a bunch more times, and then Lisa and Izzy kick him once in the stomach and finish him off. But Aryabata ends up showing up, picking him up, and apparently when asked how she could just teleport in, she said she was able to do it because of the link. I don't know what the link is. Some type of telepathic link between her and the members of the Brahman. I don't know. Maybe there's some maybe it's like some Minato crap from Naruto, where you have a seal somewhere, then you can teleport to that seal. Like, I don't know, but it could be something like that. You know, but until then, I mean, you know, one thing I do like about this series is how it gives you bits and pieces of information and always makes you start to think and theorize. Like, wait a second, what's this? What's that? You know? So that's one of the things I like about the series. It's one of the reasons why I put up with the horrible comedy. And that's just completely out of place and just completely destroys the mood. Like, freaking, I don't even want to think about ping pong, table tennis, whatever. I just don't even want to think about it right now. Okay. Anyway, she ends up saying that she was able to teleport in because of the link. Then Lisa tells her that when she sees that she's about to leave with Laka, she says, "No, leave him here. He's killed a bunch of people. Leave him here." And that's when I heard her say that, I thought, how stupid of a comment. Like, what did you think she was going to say? Oh, okay, you want him? Fine, okay, sure. All right, see you. Like, what did you think she was going to say? Okay, of course not. Like, who looks at their enemy in the like straight in the eyes and says, I know that you're trying to rescue your comrade, but don't." And actually expects him to say yes. Who, like, that was just stupid. All right, and Aryabata says, "You know what? Fine. If you want him, you can have him, but you're gonna have to take him from me." And then that's when she brings up the image of the avatar of the triggerless tattoo. All right. So, and like I said before, there are. It could be that she was able to do that because of the fact that she kissed Seigi. It could also be the fact that there are multiple triggerless tattoos, and she has one of them. She's one of the previous two. It could be that as well. All right, but eventually disappear. Also, Seigi and Toko. Before they go and teleport off, Seigi and Toko appear, and Lisa actually got a glimpse of Seigi's tattoo, so she ended up figuring out everything that was going on. All right. And the last thing that happens before Aryabata teleports away is that she says she will leave one piece of the key with America. Now, that guy that gave Seigi The tattoo. I'm just remembering this right now. The word key just like jogged my memory. The guy who initially gave Seigi the tattoo said that it was going to be a key that unlocked the secrets of the world, or something like that. Um, yeah, he said it was going to be a key that will lead you to the truth of this world. So I'm not sure if that is a coincidence that they used the same term, the same word there to describe the triggerless tattoo, but there's I there's just so much information here where they just like they give you like little drops here and there, but you want to just get the whole thing. Um, Clearly, it's referring to the triggerless tattoo, but what is it a key to? I don't know. I don't really. That's one of the things I just don't really have a theory of. The truth of the world. There's definitely more going on here that meets the eye. So I'm just really curious to see what ends up happening with that. But the last thing she says before she leaves is that she tells Seigi that he should learn how to use the key so that he won't end up dying fighting whoever, you know. And she encourages him to learn more about the tattoos because the source wants him, which I guess that would have something to do with the key and the truth of the world and all this stuff. But he doesn't get any answers from Izzy or Lisa or Tom, so he's kind of just left in the dark, just like the rest of us. All right, and that was like the end of this epic section of episode, this epic half of the episode. And when I was watching this episode for the first time, I looked at the time because I assumed the episode was about to end, and I realized, wait, there's 10 minutes left. Yo, we're about to get some awesome stuff after this, and clearly I was wrong, because what we got after this was freaking Colonel Sanders, which Fruzy or Floozy or whatever her name is, and now we have Colonel Sanders with. I'm just gonna call him Bernie. I'm just gonna call him Bernie because I don't feel like calling him Colonel Sanders. Okay, I just don't. I'm just not going to. I'm not calling him that. That's just stupid. Okay, no. Um, and you can tell they're trying to like make him look like a young KFC mascot. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm calling him Bernie, and that's all there is to say about that. Okay, now, obviously, since Lisa figured out what was going on, I'm assuming she wasn't just going to keep this a secret. She's the one who lectured Izzy about how it's important to share information. So I'm sure she went and told people this is what's going on, triggerless tattoo, blah blah blah. So Izzy is getting talked to by Bernie, and apparently she's not getting any punishment. All she has to do is make sure that Seigi participates in the U.S.'s tattoo research, which clearly the author doesn't know much about the U.S. military, because there's no way. There's no way. I mean, if this was like some like congressman's daughter or something, then maybe. Like, if you've got connections, then maybe. But maybe she does have connections. Maybe that's it. But there's no way you'd get no punishment for this unless you have those high up connections like that. All right. But after this, we have the scene where Toko and Seigi meet up with Aryabata and Mission Mystery, and I'm just going to skip past the nonsense and get straight to the point where Seigi asks Aryabata about tattoos and the kingdom and everything. All right, and her response to this is to answer with a question of her own. She asks him why it is that he's fighting and for what purpose is he fighting, and he says it's to stop the war and prevent people from killing each other. And Aryabata asks him, she questions whether he actually knows which side is right, which again makes you think she's not as evil as we thought she was. Okay, because this wasn't said in a manipulative tone or anything either. You can tell she legitimately believes this, that she legitimately believes that she's in the right here. Okay, and like I said before, she says that if she wins, she will have created a world without fighting, and that's exactly what Seigi wants. So she doesn't try to force him to join. She legitimately just says that she just welcomes him and says, "Listen, if you want to join my side, you will be welcome to join us. And if you do, I'll give you all the answers that you're looking for." So she just does not come off as evil anymore. I can't think of her. I can't call her Evil Rin anymore because she's not evil. She's anti-hero Rin. She's she, yeah, that's exactly what she's anti-hero Rin. Um, yes, we see her walk off with Mish, and she meets up with BB. And again, like I mentioned before, he called Seigi the third. So again, my theory about triggerless tattoos, multiple sealed, blah blah blah. All right, now Izzy, the last part of the episode is before the ending theme plays anyway. Izzy is talking with Seigi, and she says that the U.S. probably plans to use tattoos to take over the world. Okay, as an American, I resent that. Okay, Donald Trump might try that, but literally no one else would. We wouldn't try. First of all, Americans have a ton of pride, so we would never try to take over the world because that would require admitting that we weren't already on top of it. Okay, we have a lot of we all have big egos and we think we're the center of the world and the world revolves around. I mean, I don't because I'm the one calling us out on it. So clearly, I don't believe that. All right, but a lot of people do. So taking over the world would require us to think that we don't already own it. It wasn't that long ago Joe Biden said at the Democratic National Convention, "We own the finish line." So clearly we think we're already on top. But joking aside, I mean, the U.S. We're not the type of people to try and take over the world. We're the type of people who will try to prevent other people from getting weapons of mass destruction, but then try and keep our own and hope that people don't realize that we're hypocrites. We're the type of country that would get involved in the politics of other countries and then try to force democracy onto them in some corrupt way by putting some guy in charge that benefits us directly. And then if it doesn't work out, we complain, but we're the ones who were responsible for it in the first place. And that just makes other people hate us because we're just getting involved in things that have nothing to do with us. But anyway, and it ends up leading to ISIS and all this stuff. But anyway, um, the point is the point is that we would never actually. I kind of got a little far away from that, but we would never actually go as far as to try to take. Because what is it that I can't even call him Bernie anymore because now it just sounds like I'm talking about Bernie Sanders, and I can't insult him in that way because Bernie is awesome. So Colonel Sanders, he says, well, we hear this in his voice, but and we see it in the background, but he wants to make the U.S. the only major power in the world. And that is incredibly reckless. That is something that literally no one in this country would ever think of doing because, first of all, it just doesn't even make sense. It just doesn't make sense in the context of a global economy and in just the world. Because Salinistan, it doesn't make sense for one country to try to take over the world and become the sole major power in the world, and for only one country to have a problem with that and actually fight back. That doesn't make sense, okay? So it just doesn't make sense for the author to write that the U.S.'s goal is to take over the world, because that's not only is that impossible, because not only does it just not make sense in the context of the story because there'd be more than one country fighting back, but it also doesn't make sense in the sense that Americans are smart enough to know that it doesn't make sense and it would never work. It's just wrong on multiple levels. So I'm hoping that this is just a load of crap and that the brigadier general doesn't actually believe, because that's his actual position. He's not a colonel. That's his actual position as a brigadier general. So I'm hoping he doesn't actually believe this, because that's complete nonsense, and it just doesn't make sense to actually have the mindset that you can take over the world. That just doesn't make sense. Okay. Superman might be able to do that in Injustice, but literally no one else can. In comic books, you can do that. In anime, you can't. If you're creating an anime in a real life, in a real world setting, you can't do that because it just doesn't make sense. unless you introduce Gios, or some fictional empire that has already conquered the world, then there's no way to really do that. It just doesn't make sense, and I hope they just forget about this plot point and ignore it and throw it under the rug and forget it exists, because it just does not make sense, and it's just painful to watch something that doesn't make sense just slander you and everybody who is like you. Okay, but anyway, um, yeah. So I forgot where I was because I went on a complete tangent. Seigi ends up telling Izzy that he's not going to join the U.S. and be their partner, but he is willing to become hers, which is the same thing, because she's going to listen to her orders. So when he helps her, he is helping the U.S. and it doesn't make sense. But Seigi's an idiot, and we already know this. So we already know it's not going to be cut. I guarantee you, it's not going to be cut and dry like that. He is eventually going to go to Aryabhata. He's going to, because the U.S. is never going to give him answers. Only Aryabhata will. So I guarantee you, he will at some point go to Aryabhata. So this partnership, it's not as tight and as deep a connection and partnership as Aryabhata has with Mish. It's just not. It's just not, and it never will be. Maybe, no, I can't say that, but it'll be a rocky road before it gets to that point, at the very least. All right. So the last two scenes of this episode, we see Aryabhata waking up from sleeping next to Mish. So, and there was that one scene earlier in the episode, she said she was pushing Mish away and saying, I will bleep you later. She literally said, I will bleep you later. And Toko's like, wait, what does bleep mean? What does that mean? So, this relationship between them, I'm not sure I'm not sure I want to get this into it. I don't think I want to see this much. It's just awkward. It's just weird. If Mish was her age, I wouldn't have a problem with it, but this is kind of just like, she's kind of like a predator. Like, I'm hoping this isn't what it looks like. Anyway, she ends up getting in a helicopter with Cal and with Mish and flying off somewhere, maybe back to Selenistan, who knows. But we see that last thing we see in this episode is BB approaching Seigi the next day. Well, that day, I guess. And he just completely dominates him. And he catches Seigi's fist and ends up just like activating his power and knocking him out. I don't know how he did it. We literally we see the way the effects were shown in the scene. Like, you see these lines go across the screen, like if you've seen Bleach, when the way they handle a person's spiritual pressure, you can see the lines going. Like, that's kind of how they did it on a smaller scale, obviously, but that's kind of what they did here. So maybe it's like no, because Laka has no, he doesn't have a gravitational power. He has a weight manipulation power. The two are similar, so I don't think that they would give two people powers that are that similar to each other. So I don't think BB's power is related to gravity. But we do know from the opening he can have like this black like aura stuff like surround his hand. So I don't know what his powers are. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. But he knocks out Seigi like that, and he's kidnapping him pretty much. Okay, and in the preview we can tell he's not going to kill him because he's actually against that. The guy's actually got a sense of justice that's similar to Seigi's. But we're going to see more of him next week, which I'm stoked about because I love this guy. Him, the girl with her eyes sewed shut. I want to see more of these two. I just want to see more of these two. And right now, BB's the only one we've got, and I want to see more of them. So I'm looking forward to that. But that's it. I think if I had to guess why he's kidnapping Seigi, it would be to maybe evaluate him more, because this guy clearly he's the one who labeled him as the third, so he's probably interested in him in some way. So maybe he kidnapped him to evaluate him, get information on him, like, and interrogate him, or maybe he's doing it to give him information on Aryabhata and the Brahman and just their side and what their plan is, so that he doesn't fight against them. Maybe I don't know. That's just a guess, but we're just gonna have to wait till next week to get that. But as for this episode, I will give it an 8.5 out of 10. If it had ended at like the 14-minute mark, I would have given it a 9 out of 10. Obviously, we got a couple gems after that with the conversation with Arya Bada, with BB being introduced. But the U.S. would get confirmation that the U.S. government now knows about Seigi, and he's going to have to participate in tattoo research, whatever that entails. We don't know. But there was some good stuff that happened after the 14-minute mark in this episode, but it still had the comedy that it just doesn't gel with me. It's just not. I just don't find it funny, and it always destroys the mood. And it comes out. It's there's no transition. It's just I'll I'll give the episode an 8.5 out of 10 because it was a great episode for most of it, and the stuff that I didn't like is negated by the good stuff that did actually happen in that latter half of the episode with Aryabhata, BB, etc., etc. So, yeah, I'll give the episode an 8.5 out of 10, and that is that, you guys. Rate, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at BlacklistOTA, and I will see you guys next time in a review that is hopefully less than 47 minutes.